Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel Hireable Coder, and this is part 2 of the series where we are describing or where we are building a very simple full stack app on React as the front end and SpringBoot as the back end. So in the previous part of the same series I have developed the SpringBoot based backend, and if you have not already gone through the video, I would request you to go through the video before you come here. So the video is over there, and now we are going to develop, or basically we are going to set up the front end, the React based front end. Again, before we jump into the topic, a couple of quick things. This is the overall architecture of the full stack application, with the front end running in its own server and the back end in a different server of its own, and the database is also running in a completely different server of its own. So the main idea of full stack application is that the front end, back end and the data tiers are completely independent of each other, and they can run and scale on their own servers. Okay, so also another thing, before we actually jump into the topic, let me request you, if you like my video, if you like my session, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel and like my video, and also please view the other videos. If you like them, also share it with your friends, because then those things are going to motivate me further. So the overall architecture of the application, of the full stack application that we are building, is React at the front end and the Spring Boot at the back end. So React and Spring Boot are running and possibly can run on different servers on different machines in the cloud, but for this demo I'm showing them to run actually on the same laptop but on different ports, and they interact with each other using the HTTP request, using basically HTTP protocol. So the React front end sends a HTTP request, and the Spring Boot backend receives the request and sends the HTTP response back to the React front end. And here is a small glimpse. It's a very simple single pager React application wherein there is a text box where I can put the name of a person, and I can search the name of the person in the backend. So that's the very simple React application which I'm now going to show a demo to you. So in order to set up the React based front end, please go to my repository, to my GitHub repository, and to this particular repository, Hireable Coder frontend, and go to the branch -1 where the code base is there. And in the README, I have very clearly mentioned the steps which you can follow to set up the code. So I'm going to follow the steps just by copying the steps from here. So I'm going to do a git clone. So I'm going to go over there and do a git clone of the repo. So it would clone my repo. It has already cloned my repo. Then I would go inside that repo, which is Hireable Coder frontend, and then I will execute the command npm install. What npm install does is it actually installs all the dependencies. It downloads all the dependencies and installs them locally in a folder named node_modules. So let's run the command npm install. For this command to run, you need to have Node.js installed in your system and set in the path. And I already have a video to explain how you can actually set up your laptop so that you are able to code in JavaScript, and the video is over there. So you can go through the video once more if you have not gone through it, and then you will be able to understand how you can set up Node.js in your system. So it's downloading all the dependencies. And once it's done, then we are going to start the React app. So it's done, and now I'm going to start the React app using the command npm run start. So I'm going to execute the command npm run start. So this is going to start the React app at port 3000, and it's also going to open a browser at that port. Let's see. Basically, I can actually enter a profile name and I can search, and then what this app is going to do is it is going to try to find out the profile details from the Spring Boot based backend. So that's it, and quickly take a look at the React app that we just now downloaded. It's a very basic vanilla React app, and this is the structure of the app, and app.js is basically the entry point So React is a component-based framework. I will explain later what a component-based framework means. So within app, there is a home component, which is located within this components folder. And this home component is the place where the code is written, which we see in the browser, like the profile details, and then you can see enter profile name to search, and then input type equal to text. It's very similar to HTML, but this code is known as JSX, which is basically JavaScript, which is basically HTML like JavaScript. React transpiler actually transpiles the code, rather the Babel transpiler within React transpiles the code into pure JavaScript. But this looks very similar to HTML, so all of us who are used to HTML can actually relate very well with this code. So this actually represents the form that we saw, and this is the component. This is a home component, and it is known as a functional component in React. More about it in different video, but it is important to understand that all what we have done is we have created this home component and nested this home component within the main app component. A couple of things I want to reiterate, or rather explain once again before we conclude this topic. There are two very important things at a high level that we need to understand about the React framework. One is that it is a component-based approach. It's a component-based framework or library, you can say, where the main component is the app.js, and within app.js we have home.js. So we can, in future, what we are going to see is we will build similar many such components which can be embedded in the main page. So that is a component-based development model. And the second thing is it is actually based on client-side rendering, which means that if you do a view source of the page, you cannot see the HTML for that input type equal to text button. You cannot see any of them, because React in runtime, actually the React JavaScript, it downloads everything and shows it on the browser. It does the rendering on the browser. It does not do the rendering on the server, so the HTML is not created on the server and brought to the client side. Rather, React.js library brings everything from the server to the client, which is the browser, and then renders the HTML, renders the page on the browser. So that is known as client-side rendering. So these are two important things of React-based framework that we need to keep in mind. Okay, so that's it. I hope that was useful. Please do not worry if you do not understand everything. At least please follow the steps in the readme of my repository to download the app, to install the app, and then to run the React app. If you can do that, and maybe then change some text and then see if the change is reflected on your HTML on the display in your browser, I think that is good as a starting point. And if you're able to understand the component-based development model and component-based React framework and also the client-side rendering, I think they are good start. Okay, and last but not the least, if you really like my video, if you like my explanation, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel and also like my video, because that's going to motivate me to produce quality videos. Thank you very much.